What's the most craziest crash you've seen where you're like, bro, like you know, could have broken something or just on the 11th hour, you know, it's that alley-oop.
Dude, UK Champs.
Really?
UK Champs. I was sitting there to judge, and right in front of me, a Brazilian is doing a double front flip, and he's landing on his face. That was the worst crash ever. He got up, he still tried to dance, and then that was the worst.
Oh my God.
And then I think even Hooch went on stage. He said, like, look, no. Because usually, you know, in the days it was, you know, Legs and Africa Islam on stage.
Yeah.
But I think Hooch went on stage. He said, like, no, this is it. Don't keep, you know, no, you cannot keep on dancing. It's over.
God.
And it was right in front of me. He did that double flip and he landed on his face right in front of me.
No.
That was
heartbreaking. Yeah, that's hardcore as fuck.
Well, people don't understand it, right? People don't understand. I made an Insta post. Is it 2 weeks ago? Where I'm talking about, you know, think about it from a deeper sense, right? What people are doing this. They go to practice every day. They crash. They try a move. They crash.
Yeah.
They crash again. So they fall. For the whole practice, you try something, you fall. You try something, you fall. So their whole life, throughout their whole breaking life, they practice how to fall. And then they practice at the same time, they practice how to camouflage their fall to make it look nice and how to get up as smooth and decent as it could possibly get each time. Right, and that's breaking. If you think about it more in a spiritual sense, where you're like, what does that do to you?
It breaks you down and builds you up.
To fall.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Killa Kela podcast. KillaKelaOfficial.com.
Street Culture TV.
Beatbox created.
Killa Kela.
And we're here to talk about world music and street culture.
Killa Kela podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, Killa Kela podcast, live and direct, central London, or as central as you need to be. Choose to be, want to be. You don't want to be anywhere else. We've said it before, we'll say it again. We've done over 40 podcasts now, and this is exactly how we're going to play. It's for your entertainment pleasure of the street culture and the movement. So please share and care, tell a friend to tell a friend, and all that jovial good stuff. Okay, people, our sponsors, the mighty GK Nifty Heads, have 10,000 play-to-earn GraffPunks NFTs to give away. Get ready as London's white trash goes blockchain digital with Bitcoin Cash tokens locked into them to claim. Get yourselves over to the website gkniftyheads.com and play to earn now. Well, we have a bit of a legend in the house. I mean, they say never meet your heroes. I've met him multiple times and he's never let me down. From 1983 to now, body popping his way, locking and b-boying and pioneering all the way through. Winning every single competition that you could think of throughout the 90s and noughties. Battle Squad, Signee, one of the original players, with the iconic collaboration of Swift and Storm, the dynamic duo that took me through my childhood and beyond. It's an absolute pleasure to have not only the judge, Red Bull BC Undisputed, and now the BBoy Champs is coming up this time of the year, and it's all happening. We have Germany's finest, Storm, inside the place. How are we, my brother?
Hey, what an introduction, man. It's like, yeah, my whole life just passed by, right?
Totally.
Amazing.
Honestly, to go through your history is like the A to Z of what to do to be a pioneer. It's absolutely spellbinding, brother. I mean, talking about going through the motions in a flash. I mean, you must go through the archives and think, wow, how did I ever end up here?
Oh, nah, it's not really like that. You know, it's like we're creative people, right? We are creative people. And I have to say that I was, with the first very creative project to become a breaker, I would have to say that I was very lucky that breaking actually came back. I mean, I played quite a big role in it as well, because we were so tough on ourselves, and then we were traveling, and we really, you know, we were networking when nobody was calling it networking back in the days. But yeah, breaking came back, and that kind of like saved us. But imagine we would have done some circus act, you know, like a little trick here, a little trick there, and try to make our money with that. So we were very lucky that it was breaking that we did, and that other people loved it as much as we did, and the culture regrew, like phoenix from the ashes, if you know what I mean. Because when I started, it lasted 1.5 years. It was played out. Nobody wanted to see it anymore. And until I would say early 90s, all of a sudden it became, like culturally manifested in Europe, and it really started growing again all over the world. And that was our luck. And then from there, I did this and I did that and I did other projects. But I mean, you look at like the judging stuff, for instance, it doesn't pay. It's not like it's not like like I wrote a book with like my latest book, Think Breaking, has 400 pages. Who reads it?
Wow. Hold on.
You know what I mean?
Man done a book, He done a book. Like, these are just like, it literally, it is like the how-to of career defining moments. It's hard to quantify, because obviously as a fan first, it's like, you're right. There was only a few people doing it as well. They're like second to none in the UK. I mean, you guys frequented a lot more than I probably know. There was a lot of communication between certain small fractions, like you say.
I wouldn't have been here without all these guys, with all these leftovers. Let's call them leftovers back then. If it wasn't for second to none and always rocking tough in some Manchester's, because Tim, Tom, Evo, like them also. Evo was a great inspiration back in the days. I knew every time I was going to meet Evo, it's going to be fire, right? So it was always mad, always great. Then Actual Force from Paris, crazy. Of course, another group to mention. Then there was Enemy Squad from Hungary.
Yeah.
Also, every time we met, it was just we were all like family. We were really like family, because we realized, like, okay, finally you meet somebody that feels the same way, that has the same passion, and we wanted to dance. We didn't even want to talk. It was always a moment where without music or with music, we didn't care. There was always, even if we were walking through the street, we saw a place that had a kind of smooth floor, we were getting loose.
You mentioned leftovers. I get the reality of that. There was a documentary, I'm not sure if you ever saw it. It was a skateboarding one called Dogtown Z-Boys. And, the idea that skateboarding was kind of a fad in the, early 70s that kind of mirrored the yo-yo, it's like the thing to do or karate when Karate Kid was blowing up, it has this kind of time in the sun and then it peters out. And it's hard to look at the landscape when you guys were clearly serious about this, but the media were treating it in a different way.
Usually what happened was that back in the days, what looked like a representation of breakdancing in the mid-'80s was so watered down and so bad that when people saw us dancing, they asked us what it was. They were like, well, what is it, you guys? And we were like, oh, that's breaking. And they were like, no, we know how breaking, that's not breaking. Then it must have changed a lot. And we were like, no. We just do it in its original way. We loved the Bronx heritage. We embraced it and we really wanted to do it that way. But, since so much pantomime, funny waves, funny, like caterpillars and all these kind of things, you could learn in a day. Since most people thought that was the representation of the dance, it got ridiculed everywhere. But then when you've seen the real art form behind it, then of course it was something else. It was, so me, every time I watched Rocksteady, New York City Breakers, Dynamic Rockers, Furious Rockers, like all these crews from New York, incredible breakers. When I've seen them, I was like, that's what I want to do. I did not look at, these other guys that were, what I'm talking about. At some moment, I think everybody's parent even tried to dance, try to break.
Doing that kind of arm thing, kind of. I know what you mean.
And that's why, I understand it. When they heard break dancing, everybody's like, oh my God, no, no, please don't, you know? But then when they saw us, it was a total different story.
Yeah, because once the power is in the hands of real creative, real warlords, people that really gave a shit about that. I mean,
You just called me a warlord.
yeah, God, you guys were warlords. The fucking lot of it's just okay. You're all friends, but it definitely went down in the octagon. It was no. You guys were lethal, dangerous motherfuckers, and that's probably what spun people's impressions, because you guys were really pioneering it at a time where even America really wasn't advancing in a particular direction future forward.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, most people went on with their lives, and especially guys from America, where it was even harsher. It was really, really bad in the US. I remember when I went to the US for the first time to New York in '91, and how we were treated there. It was even worse than in Europe.
Really?
You know, there we're talking about '91. Honestly, and I could still say this, the only person that was still living that b-boy lifestyle, practicing and trying to go further was Quickstep. He was the only one. Everybody else stopped at that time, right? Went to the army, went on with their lives, had different jobs. And if we asked them, because we were doing street shows together for 5-6 weeks, we were doing street shows together because we couldn't afford a hotel. After 1 week already, we were running out of money, right? So we had to do street shows. You know how it was in Europe?
Struggle's real.
Yeah, in Europe, if you went to any kind of city, you would find somebody, with the same passion, and they would hook you up. We could sleep with, like at their crib or whatever.
Yeah.
But in New York, it was different, So we couldn't afford a hotel anymore, and we moved from one place to the next, and it was getting cheaper and cheaper, and the conditions were getting worse and worse. But we were dancing on the street, we had fun, and by doing that at the same time, a great side effect was that now we were jetting from street festival to street festival, and we just did shows all over the place, that we always ran into people that used to dance in the Roxy days. And every time we asked, they would look at us, they would go, are you crazy? We moved on with our life, man. We're not doing that stuff no more. Some people would tell us, man, they got drugged out so badly, during those days, sudden it was completely played out. So they were these ghetto celebrities where and then you come back and people are just laughing at you and they ridicule you. And you're like, you're still spinning on your head. Are you crazy? So they all stopped. And Quickstep was the only one that was still doing it. And there were a couple of street performers, and they were mainly doing they were mainly tumbling, like flips and all that kind of stuff. And even the guys that were doing breaking moves, they were not treating it like Quick. Quick was really into it. He wanted to know what's up, and he really wanted to push it to a different level. So I have to give it up to Quickstep there, because he played a vital role of, you know how it is. It's still, in them days, New York was still the mecca of it all. So, and then Quickstep, because Swift always carried VHS tapes with him, right? Swift Rock. So, and then, wherever we went, we had a VHS tape, and Swift Rock made sure when everybody, you go to a jam, somebody had a camera, he went to the camera guy, he's like, look, you're filming tonight. Look, here's a tape. There's a lot of stuff on there. Take the tape, but make sure you send me a copy of what happened here tonight. And if you have more stuff, send me that too. Wow. So with all the stuff that was on these VHSs, that's what really kind of formed this entire network, because people were so blown away of what was happening in different parts of the world that when we gave, Quickstep the tape in New York, he was like, the others need to see this. I'm sure when other people see what's happening in the world and they see that in New York, how it went cultural in Europe and probably everywhere else, that's how he was thinking.
Sure.
Then they might come back into the game. Then, they get out of retirement and they're going to start again. But it didn't really happen. Wow. It didn't really happen.
What a lone star in the scene. I can just imagine him, rocking on his own. I mean, that's cinematic in thinking, isn't it?
it didn't take long, and then Kenny really started again.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ken Swift. He like,
Nice.
and then Kenny really got busy. So Kenny also, he realized this is the moment, you know, and
Yeah.
even though he had a good 9 to 5, and he was, you know, like, I remember he was wearing a suit when I saw him for the first time, because he had a regular job.
Wow.
Yeah, but he got back into the game, and yeah, I mean, if you look at Ken Swift in, I would say 95, 96, he was better than he ever was before, right? But Kenny was amazing. So, you know, it did something with New York and other parts of the world. And of course, we also, you know, like, we didn't wait long, you know, until, you know, like, we realized what was going on the West Coast, which was mainly through Easy Rock and through Zulu Gremlin. Yeah, Zulu Gremlin I met in New York, and then Easy Rock came over when we were teaching together. In '93, we were teaching in Paris.
Radiotron and things like that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Mad. West Coast have always had their own identity within the dance, within street dance in general, isn't it? Like, when I think about West Coast, I mean, it's like a whole different, it's a whole different ecosystem, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It's beautiful. And it's also funny when you look at, like, you know, it took us a while to understand where things were coming from. Because in the early days of hip hop, you know, like 83, 84, we just thought like everything was coming from New York. At least in Germany we did, right? I know you guys, you already had early influences, like in London, in the UK, you already had early influences from the Electric Boogaloo's, because they came over with the performance at the Carnival. You also had Top of the Pops with Jeffrey Daniels, old Soul Train dancer. So you kind of like, you knew more. It was always funny when we met guys from England. They were always calling what we called electric boogie, because, you know, like, we had the New York influence. They were calling it body poppin'. So we were like, huh? And hence my first crew, the name was Magnificent Body Pops, which is funny because we had influences from everywhere. But, you know, a couple of guys came from London. We learned that from those guys and that from those guys. But, you know, in Germany, main influence was coming from the GIs that we had, you know, like GIs and GI sons and children that were going to clubs and stuff. So a lot of the stuff we learned firsthand.
Yeah.
Definitely. Also the social dances that came out later. But it was also not so well when, you know, like what I mentioned earlier, that, you know, like, that we were getting ridiculed. If we wanted to go to American clubs and we wanted to break there, no chance.
Wow.
They were treating us pretty bad.
Which you think would be the opposite?
They didn't want us there.
Which you think would be the opposite. But because me coming into what you would call the 2.0 of breaking for you guys, it was like, man, like, this shit's already built, and like Germany is like absolutely spearheading a movement almost just on their own steam. And perhaps some of that, because I spoke to Torch, big up Torch, you know, and he talked about that.
I saw him 2 days ago, man.
Big up Torch, that's my dog. But it was, I guess it was a push, because off the back of, he described it that off the back of the Second World War, reintegration and Germany almost, you know, open arms, like, yeah, let's get some culture in. Let's really adopt these new Western cultures, and hip hop was just this ready built package and was perfect for introducing, like you say, American culture, American artists, you know, created a German hip hop scene to die for the rest of the world. It's just incredible. You were part of that spearheading. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Hip hop was perfect for me. It's perfect. I mean, imagine you go to school and almost every month they talk about the Third Reich and all the messed up stuff the generations before did, like the generations before you coming out of Germany, right? It's terrible. So you definitely did not want to get associated with that generation, especially not with the Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about it, you know, looking at, so on one hand, you have the generations before. Secondly, you have, you have these norms. You have all these, like these standards. School system and all that. You have this kind of feeling. We all had that with hip hop, right?
Yeah.
We all had that. That is like we developed this anti-establishment approach.
Yeah.
And it when hip hop came, it was perfect. It was perfect. You could get creative. There were no norms. There was, like we didn't know about it. Like you could just get creative as long as you go along with these things, right? And then there was this, man, think about it, like you heard the scratch for the first time. If I would have done that with my grandfather's record player and his records, he would have killed me. You know what I mean? It's like it was a revolution. Spray paint, like throw yourself on the floor and spin and do these things. Everything was so revolutionary.
Yeah.
So you were like, look, I found myself and this is something for me. And you could just not be a racist if you were into hip hop, if you know what I mean.
It's
impossible.
No.
Yeah,
we
knew
hip hop was the
it
education. Hip hop was the new education.
Impossible. So from that moment on, I was like, yeah, this is the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And I just, and then after a while we had so many, every time, in Berlin, you have no idea, so there was this, we had that gang problem in Berlin for many years.
Right.
And there was this moment where these youth workers, where they just put us in a youth club, we were getting paid for practicing. They said that we should give dance lessons, but we had no idea how to do that, right? So we were just, we were just going practicing. And every now and then when somebody would ask me, like, how do you do this move? I would give them hints and tricks and, to succeed. And so youth workers, politicians, they would come in and they would just watch us dancing with Arabs, Turkish, Italians, Africans, everybody in one room. And it was perfectly fine. Nobody needed to show their passport, talk about where they were coming from, no matter what culture, whatever. You realized, it was through this cultural convergence that happened, that we all had these goals. And it kind of like, it created this also, it made you nosy, right? You found a friend, you understood something. Maybe you didn't even speak his language, but you found something in common. And through this commonness, right? You were like, it was getting you more into people's life, and you clicked, and then you find out about different cultures. You find out about all these different things, but it just made life more beautiful.
It was a level playing field.
You realize it. Yeah, it was, and it opened things up. You go like, oh, so this is how things, oh, that's how you think. And that's how you like, okay, you like that wallpaper, you like that food, and you get invited and you stay overnight, like all these things, you become part of other people's family.
God, that's good.
And that was the hip hop life, right? That was the hip hop life. And that's why when I said, when we went to New York, we thought it was like that too. Because everywhere we went, even with hitchhiking and wherever we went within Europe, like it didn't matter. You found some hip hoppers, you saw some people with shell toe Adidas or with Pumas.
Follow them around for a bit, see where they're going, what they're doing, what records are in their bags.
Exactly.
Things like that.
That's it. It was perfect.
Yeah, you've never been shy in coming forward with those. Like you see online a lot of educational stuff, and you were on TV a lot, practicing promoting the arts in Germany, especially. I mean, you definitely built a status of the go-to guys, so to speak, particularly with Swift, and just getting the message out.
Yeah, for sure. I have to say, like for a while, I think I was a bit too dogmatic. It was through this during the Zulu days.
Explain. We don't get a lot of dogmatics on the podcast. Explain more in detail what you mean. Referring.
Okay, so okay. Well, in the beginning when we started, a very big part for us was, okay, you know, so now you create that togetherness. So we were together and we were not just breakers, you know, like we realized, all right, this is the culture and it's called hip hop. So Bambaataa played a main role. And then for the first time you hear like Zulu Nation, what is he talking about? You know, what is the Zulu Nation? So already before Beat Street, there was, I think a documentary is called A Hip Hop History or something like that.
Yeah.
You must have seen it. It was Malcolm McLaren is in it as well.
That's it.
So, and then we got curious about it, like about everything. It's like, what is this? So if this is part of what we are doing, we want to know more about it. And then I don't remember through which source, but we got the Zulu letters from Queen Candy from France.
Wow.
And so Queen Candy, she was in Zulu Nation already. And before that, we already knew small things, but nothing real, right? So we got the Zulu letters. With the Zulu letters, we learned about the laws and regulation if you wanted to be part of the Zulu Nation. And one very important part of it was that you weren't allowed to use any kind of substances that dilute your mind. So it was about smoking, it was about drinking, it was about drugs. So I never smoked in my life, I never drank in my life, I never did drugs in my life. And part of that, I would have to say, I owe this to Zulu at that time, because we wanted to be part of that clique, so much of that hip hop clique. So it became an ideology. It was very close of being religious. And when you get into that path, of course, you also get dogmatic, and you try to, you know, talk to your, you know, to people in your environment in a certain way, and you tell them, look, you got to do this, you got to do that, otherwise you're not part of the clique.
Yeah.
And you have to live a certain lifestyle in order to succeed. And even with Torch, there was a minute, you know, there was a documentary coming out in '93, so that was already way later, 10 years later. There was a documentary coming out. It was called Lost in Music. We were all in this, and he's talking about the same thing in there. And you have no idea how many people afterwards they were saying, "Oh, I can smoke whenever I want. I don't need to be in this." Well, Torch was just stating the same thing as I said it. That was kind of like what held us together nationwide for a long time. It was, you know, that it was clear, and it's like it's almost verbatim. I think Kofi, like a linguist from Torch's crew, Advanced Chemistry, he was saying something like, in the lines of, well, if you don't consume, it's quite obvious, or the people that don't consume any of these substances are the ones that are the most productive. Yeah, and a lot of people didn't want to hear that. But of course, you know, like in breaking, of course, it was also very, very obvious. If you didn't do any drugs, if you weren't smoking, you had better stamina.
Well,
if you weren't drinking, if you weren't drinking, you had more control about what you were doing. And of course, you know, like if you don't leisure yourself away, you keep that, you know, you stay on that grid and you push yourself forward to new heights, and that's where we wanted to be. That's where we wanted to go. And for a long time, it really helped. And then from the first time I went to New York, I kind of like realized how, like, what Zulu Nation really was, and how Zulus in New York were living, and so on. And that was kind of like shattered me for a minute. But then I realized that I was very lucky that we had those Zulu letters, and that it kind of like kept us together in Germany. And with that dogmatism also, it kind of like changed where, you know, I still don't believe in that cultural relativism, or moral relativism. And I absolutely believe, you know, that there are certain things necessary to be said when it comes down to, you know, like that we have common core values. That kind of pushed us that way, especially also when you keep certain styles together. You know, there are certain basics. There are cultural values. When we judge, for instance, when we judge competitions, it's not based on any opinion. No, there are certain things that we value, and so we can say whether somebody was dancing to the music or not. you
Yeah.
know, about the form, about athleticism, about certain things, you know, and that I think is still very important to pinpoint and to find out what that really is.
Yeah, let's get into the judging. So, because obviously we have the BBoy Champs 23rd, 24th, Aviva in Manchester, which is definitely going to be a vibe. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing you, my friend. The judging system, what you base a lot, because you do a lot of workshops and, you know, you're always active. No wonder you don't drink, smoke or anything, because you're prolific. What you look for in the judging is really quite stringent, isn't it?
I think, you know, let me twist that around. I don't think that I'm looking for anything. It's the other way around. Same, like, you know, like when you know, so you're doing research while people are dancing, you're researching in their performance. You need to react to whatever they are doing. If I would go into it, and I would beforehand, I would already make up my mind of what I want to see. I would close my eyes for everything that they actually might think is important. And you can't do that. Right. So you got to be as open as possible. And you do, you know, you look at these things and then you kind of like have to find out in different, you know, like you have to kind of like find out what are the most important parts in what they try to do in their performance in order to say they are superior than their opponent.
Oh.
Right? It's very important because in a battle, it's about superiority, right?
Yeah.
That's very, very important. If we would just say it's a piece of art, everybody's, you know, because that's a lot of people, you know, try to say, oh, it's just art, right? No, it's not. It's not. No. Look, we create an environment.
Yeah.
You know, it's about a battle, right? They are using the same dance floor. They get the same track from the DJ. So they're dancing to the same music. Yeah. And now they dance the same dance style. Right, that too, and it's the same time frame, so they have this time frame of like, let's say 45 seconds to a minute, you know.
Yeah,
if you dance long and breaking, you know, you're probably gonna faint. So
yeah.
Well,
I know I would.
you start crashing. Yeah. And so you have performer one, you look at, you know, what this guy is doing, and now it's like a scale, right? So he's putting all his ingredients in there. You look at the ingredients, okay, this, that, you know, and then the other side is performing. So now you start to weigh it with the other side. Okay, this side uses those ingredients. And then if you want to make pancakes, you throw them in a pan, right? You throw them in the pan, and then at some point, you know, like if a dancer is crashing, for instance, there's a burnt pancake. You know?
Yeah, I love these food analogies. I'm hungry. Keep going.
You know what I mean, right? You know what I mean? So that's like the executioner part, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, so these are the different aspects that you're looking at. So you want to find out like who's doing what and how good. So you're looking for these qualities.
Yeah.
And you got to look, you rather look at the differences than at all the things that people have in common. Wow. You need to look at the differences to find out the different qualities. And then you find out, oh, is this side a little bit much? So you vote for that side because you see more qualities on that side. And that's basically it. That's the most important part you got to know. It's direct comparison. Yeah, it's really based on direct comparison.
And you must have these moments where, excuse me, where you'll be looking at what someone's doing. Maybe they're just hitting it around the 85, 90% marker, but you get it. It's like, I know where she or he is going with this. I get it. Do I critique the execution of it, or does the idea overpower all of that? And you got to give it to them because they're going to go clear with this style or this technique or this, which they may not have just, you know, got it over the finishing line this time around.
I mean, you got to be real with it, right? So if you interpret too much into it, it's probably one of the biggest mistakes that you can do. It's like you're looking in the clouds and you see something in the clouds and you think like somebody's speaking to you and wants to give you a sign of it. You know, if you take it to that level, a lot of times you're going too far. So you got to be very real about what you're seeing.
Cruel to be
It's
kind
very
almost as
important.
well. Cruel to be kind because you know that they're onto something, but they just ain't got it today. Just not this evening.
Well, I mean, usually when somebody is trying something, you see it. It could end in a very, very good surprise.
Mm.
Yeah. So in the impact it's going to have in you is very, very important. Right. So impact is a very important thing, right? Especially, so there's this value that we call performance.
Mm-hmm.
And within performance, it's what a lot of people don't understand. Performance, in a broader sense, performance is also part of musicality.
Sure,
because
definitely.
it really, performance is how you compose your solo from beginning to the end. You start with an intro, you're coming in, right?
Yeah.
You start with your intro. The intro usually is like top rock. And then as soon as you go down, it develops into the middle part, which is the down rock section.
Yeah.
And in the down rock sections, you slightly go up and down. You saw my little wave. You're going up and down. But it should always lead into a high climactic point where okay, this should be the end of it, and then it's going down. You leave the circle, or you leave the stage, and your solo is finished. If it doesn't do that, from an impact view, then you will always look at it. Imagine somebody's doing it in the beginning. That the best move comes in the beginning, and after that it tends to just go down, 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 and it's fading out. It's not going to be the same thing. From an impact view,
there's other things as well. Sorry, things like guitar solos on records. Going back to the music, similar sort of thing. Don't go top heavy. Just let it ride and get that climatic moment, right?
Right, and you see like that performance as well. It has this. The good songs, most of the good songs have the same structure, the same dramaturgic arc, right? Wow. Most movies, go to an old Star Wars movie, they have the same structure. Good movies, good books, even a good day. If you think about a good day, trust me, if you have a peak moment at around 7, 8 o'clock in the evening, and that's the peak moment where you're going like, oh yeah, I accomplished it, done it, this was a good day. But if you accomplish something in the morning, and from that moment, it's only going downhill, at the end of the evening, you're not going to say like, oh no, something went wrong here. You know what I mean?
Bro, do you take counseling jobs? I could do with this in the morning. I could do this every morning. I need this kind of counseling.
So these performance aspects, they play a very, very big role. So this impact. So now imagine you are trying to do something, your whole solo kind of like went flat and it didn't lead anywhere. So now you might have to take a risk towards the end to bring it to a climactic moment. And even if everybody understands, this guy just got lucky. It reminds me of Sonny at UK Champs. At some point, Sonny was battling Hong 10. I don't know if some people, they might remember that battle.
These are legends already.
Sonny in that battle, there was this one round where he was just like really lucky, where he got on his head and he was spinning and he did it. And when Hong 10 was going out, and like Hong 10 usually, everybody knows, from his style, from his reputation, this guy, he's superior, right? But he went in and Hong 10 lost the battle. He lost the battle. Why? Because Sonny, he took the risk and he was lucky that he was spinning a bit longer and he landed it and he did it. Yeah, I mean, if you're lucky and it's happening, it's your moment.
Risk is everything, though.
And we all embrace it. Well, we all celebrate it. Well, risk is, I would say, risk aversion is nice, but you have to stay in control with what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because if you risk something and you crash, you lose it all.
Yeah, physically and competitively. Yeah. What's the
crazy?
Hold on. Just sticking with that for a second, because this is spicy. What's the most craziest crash you've seen where you're like, bro, like you could have broken something, or just on the 11th hour, it's that alley.
Dude, UK Champs.
Really?
UK Champs. I was sitting there to judge, and right in front of me, a Brazilian is doing a double front flip, and he's landing on his face. That was the worst crash ever. He got up, he still tried to dance, and then That was the worst.
Oh my god.
And then I think even Hooch went on stage. He said like, look, no, because usually, in the days it was, Legs and Africa Islam on stage. But I think Hooch went on stage. He said like, no, this is it. Don't keep, no, you cannot keep on dancing.
Oh
It's
my
over.
God.
And it was right in front of me. He did that double flip and he landed on his face right in front of me.
No,
That was
that's
hardcore.
heartbreaking. Yeah, that's hardcore as fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a dangerous game.
And people people don't understand it, right? People don't understand. I made an Insta post, is it 2 weeks ago? Where I'm talking about, think about it from a deeper sense, right? What people are doing this. They go to practice every day, they crash. They try a move, they crash.
Yeah.
They crash again. So they fall. For the whole practice, you try something, you fall. You try something, you fall. So their whole life, throughout their whole breaking life, they practice how to fall. And then they practice at the same time, they practice how to camouflage their fall, to make it look nice, and how to get up as smooth and decent as it could possibly get.
Wow.
Each time. Right. And that's breaking. If you think about it more in a spiritual sense, where you're like, what does that do to you?
It breaks you down and builds you up.
To fall.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you work with the resistance of gravity every freaking day. And other people, they think, like all that could crush you, were breakers where they were just like, look, I learned how to fall so much. Most of the breakers, you can shake them. You could, they just take things in and they know exactly what to do in order to move things on. So I think this is really important.
Yeah, this is a huge thing to highlight because the energy. Maybe it's because I've been in this scene.
Dude landed on his face, man.
Dude,
he did a double front flip, landed on his face. He said, I don't care. I'm at UK Champs. I want to keep on dancing.
Yeah.
So we don't know how many times he landed on his face before. It's a bit like also, I don't know if you ever did martial arts. I remember, I did 7 years of Kung Fu. And I remember first time sparring, somebody hits you on the head, right? Somebody hits you on the head, you go like, oh my God, what was that? So this hammer, boom, and you go like, what was that? So it takes you the first time that happens, it takes you 30 seconds, maybe even longer to get to your senses and realize what just happened.
Wow.
And then you do that for 3 yees, or even after a year already, you get hit, you go, ugh. And then 3 seconds later, you keep on going, So you get so used to it. And this is part of the that hormetic lifestyle, I call it, right?
Nice.
Because, when you look at hormesis, with hormesis, you expose yourself to minor trauma. You expose yourself to low stressors all the time, so that you enable yourself to learn how to cope with major stressors.
Yeah, it's like
or
1,000
major trauma.
cuts, like 1,000 cuts over and over and over.
Yeah, exactly. And this is it. And this is, what I miss with our society right now, where I have the feeling, lots of people, I don't say everybody should do this, but a lot of it is, with, the lifestyle we lead right now.
Yeah.
Everything is indoors and people don't really meet up anymore. And you say one wrong word and people are taking it the wrong way.
Yeah.
And, all these things that are happening right now where you go like, wow, they can't even deal with that much of resistance. And they're already in tears or they're already shattered.
Just jump in a cold bath or something. Do something to, get you to charge up. I know what you mean. It's lethargic, isn't it? There's a real bordering on, apathy.
Start slow, do little things, improve.
Yeah.
And there you go.
That's it. That's the ticket. That's the energy. And there's a self-assurance about B-boys and B-girls. I love talking with them, but it relates back to what you're saying about the mentality and how many thousand hours you put in landing on your face. It's like you have to have a level of self-assurance. That's just because any inevitable moment, move, anything could change your trajectory.
The bad thing about it, of course, there's a toll to it as well, is lots of us, we overdo it. We get so used to certain pain that we think it becomes normal. And then once you have a severe injury, you just keep on going and you don't take it serious enough to rest it out.
Wow.
You know, a lot of times you just keep on going like that. You know, like I had
what's your injuries?
two blown discs.
Two blown discs.
Man, I had so many. I mean, those were the second herniated disc I had in 2003, and that was so severe that I actually thought I was never going to be able to dance again. That was the moment where I really like changed into popping and locking a lot more.
Wow.
You know, because popping and, you know, if you learn how to pop, it's also because of all the isolation and that you're doing, you know, like isolating moves and twitching separate muscles and stuff. It really helps with regeneration and feeling your body a lot better. Where you know, like, okay, am I all right? Can I do this right now? You know, where with breaking everything is so let's go.
Yeah.
I love to stand still. I mean, until this day, when I'm going to competitions and I judge, I have such a good time sitting first row judging.
Pole position.
I have the loge. I have the loge in the theater. You know what I mean? I'm sitting right there. I see everything in front. Besides seeing people land on their face, right? But of course, you're sitting there, and everything is like you see things in detail. And man, in almost every competition, I see things I haven't seen before.
Wow.
And that's the beauty of it. So until this day, even though we only have 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 body, 1 head, right? Still, like, there's so many possibilities. There's so many moves. So many possibilities. Until this day, there at every jam, I see something I haven't seen before.
Wow. Well, we're definitely going to see that on the 23rd and 24th, aren't we?
Oh, absolutely.
Brother?
Absolutely.
Really
no doubt about it.
That. Really looking forward to that. And on that note, so yes, we'll be seeing you there. Brother, any shout outs, anything else going on that you want to talk about whilst we're here? Any I mean, obviously you got the book. Anything else? What's going on?
I think Hooch, the man of the day, that's his home. UK Championships. Man, this guy, if it wasn't for Battle of the Year and Hooch in the days with UK Championships, you know, like they really they built this up. They built this up from scratch.
Real talk.
And I'm really glad that Hooch is still doing it. You know, if it, you know, like, so for me, you know, like when it comes to Europe, there are 4 events that were the major ones for many, many years.
Mm-hmm.
Battle of the Year, UK Championships, IBE, and Outbreak Europe.
Hell yeah.
Right? But it's those 4 events that still. And I thought it was always magic, you know, like back in the days when, you know, you had like in 3 weeks, you had Battle of the Year, UK Championships, and IBE happening. So people that were coming from overseas that had like a month in Europe, they could just get it all in, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. So shouting out those events that are very, very important, because the struggle is real at the end of the days. Running these events, they gave us, and they still give us the forum, you know, for all the breakers, for all the dancers. If you have something to show, that's the place to go. Yeah. If you want to mingle, if you want to share, if you want to network, whatever you want to do, those are the events. To any event promoter, you know, like shouting that out. Then, of course, I would like to shout out like my team, the Dance Education Network, with Kevin, with Kevin and I. We came up with the judging system called Trivium. And
yes, you certainly did, didn't you?
We made the threefold that now is used a lot more. But of course, we would love to switch. At some point, we would love to switch it back to the Trivium, which is quite complicated, but it gives a lot more feedback to all the artists out there. You know, when they want to see why they lost, or what they can still work on, or whatever, like, and why the judges
Yeah.
were voting a certain way. They could look that up in the statistics and stuff. So I think it's very important to shout out the Dance Education Network.
Big up
We're
Renegade, my
trying
brother.
we put all our energy into the realms of judging, so that people understand if we want to take this any further with the competitions and everything, then only if we're moving it towards more professionalism, which is when we don't go to events and the judges are all over the place, but the judges use a certain, how do we call it? The judges use a certain model. When we're using a certain model, like, and we speak the same language, we use the same words, only then, people will understand that it's going into a right direction. Without, and that is very, very important, because people are still confused about this, right? So it's very important that that artistry has a very, very important part in it. So artistry has a third. Physical qualities is 1/3. Artistic quality is another third. And then performance quality, interpretive qualities with performance and musicality is the third. And it all together, it builds the whole of what we see when we research while we're judging. Yeah, so we promote this, and we're trying to tell people how important it is to keep it open like that, but at the same time, looking at those cultural values, those common core values, in order to call a verdict at the end of the battle, right? So, it's tough work, man.
Yeah,
it's tough work. Trust me.
Wow. Yeah. Told you this was going to be the basic podcast. This storm is in the fucking building.
And and there's so many others. Yeah, my brother Speedy, of course, my crew, like Battle Score, with Swift Rock, with Raphael, with Sebastian, with Sancho, with Kane Wung, that are still out there, of course. But that's basically it. Yeah, there's so many people that I should say hi to. There's so many people that I always see. You know who you are, and I think that's the end of it, right?
That's it, my brother. Absolutely fantastic chopping it up with you. And remember, people, BBoy Champs, Aviva, Manchester, 23rd and 24th. Make sure you get your shell toes down there. It's going to be a sight to behold, that's for sure. Big up my boy Swifty.
It's going to be mad.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Thank you so much for joining us, my brother. I really appreciate your time, Storm. I know you're a busy man, so I really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you.
Great. I appreciate it too. And I hope to see you again. All the best for your podcast, man. I watched so many episodes already. Of course, I watched the one with Torch as well. Yeah, and I'm loving it. So really great stuff that you're doing.
Thank you, my brother. Really appreciate that. Killa Kela podcast, out like in was out of fashion, all right? Serves you right. More intel than you could possibly fill in one listen. So make sure you delve in on not just this, but with all the other podcasts, all right? Remember, crime don't pay, but neither do they. Don't talk to an I wouldn't, people, and you stay lucky. Nice one, Storm. Peace. Yeah, that was sick.